This is the Western Obsessions TV podcast, where hunting's not a hobby, it's an obsession. This episode is brought to you by the Top Predator, a fitness archery challenge. Do you have what it takes to be the top predator? Online sales or registrations are open now for the Top Predator. Jump on to thetoppredator.com and register to see if you have what it takes. All right, guys, welcome to the Western Obsessions TV podcast. I'm your host, Kurt Belding. My guest today is my good buddy, Tyler Pollock. He is my performance PT guy. He is my guy that I go to for anything, whenever I break my body, pretty much, which is all the time because I'm getting older and I push hard, right? Like I'm in with you all the time, Tyler. Tyler, what's going on, man? How are you?
What's up, man? Dude, I am great. I'm living the dream and just happy to be on here, man. Thanks for having me.
You bet, dude. Look at that logo in the background, man. Look at that camera placement.
You know, we're talking about plugs. There's one for you right there.
The Performance Project right there. That's his
I'm
thing.
kind of leaning a little bit so everyone can see that, all right? And get a little extra there. So
you got to sacrifice form for the logo, for the plug.
It's worth it. Yeah. I'm gonna need a performance PT after this.
You want me to put my body? I'll put my hands on you. I'm not afraid.
Oh man. I'm gonna need somebody else. Is there any other option? Oh man.
No faith, homie. No faith.
That's all right. You know, we can do other stuff, I guess. I'll trust you with hunting. I'll trust you with hunting. Take me up in the mountains. You just stay on your side of the tent.
Dude, I got some chiropractic. Like, lay down on the table, take your pants off.
You know, it doesn't count if you just jump on top of me. That doesn't count.
Yeah, but you might like it after though. Like, yeah, it counts.
I might if I'm still alive. If I'm still here. Yeah, I might. Otherwise, I don't know.
Oh man, this is gonna be a good podcast, guys. Me and Tyler are good buds, man. We crack up all the time around just random dumb shit that we think's funny. Yeah. You probably won't find funny, but it's okay.
We don't care.
We can laugh. We
don't care as long as we're having a good time.
Tyler, like I said, is my PT guy, man. Like I work out hard, I train hard, I'm in the mountains a lot. I put my body through a whole bunch of crap, and he is my guy to go to. Like I have an injury now. I have a little pull down here, not even really my groin. I don't know, what would you call it, Tyler? Like what do I have?
Yeah, you've got essentially just a strain of that distal hip flexor. So that hip flexor is going down in there. So
dude, I can see it in your eyes right now. You're like pansy. You are a pansy is what it is. Like you come to me, say, this hurts.
You're fine.
You're a pansy.
What is this?
Fine. Rub some.
Get out of my office. What are you doing in here? This is fine.
Right. So anyway, he's my go-to guy. And I want to talk a lot about, I want to bring value to the hunters out there, especially like bringing longevity into hunting. Right. Man, my goal is I want to hunt till I'm 80 years old at least, or until I'm dead. And there's only one way to do that is by keeping my body in good physical shape and health. And you need a guy like Tyler to, like, when you kind of break it, to like help you fix it. Right. So
that's what I'm here for.
That's what he's here for. I mean, he doesn't just do work on hunters. He works on all types of athletes. But like, what is your niche, man? Like who's your clientele?
Yeah. So I work a lot with fitness athletes and active adults. So people who are really active, they're getting out, doing stuff, whether that's hunting, hiking, CrossFitters. I really, really find myself kind of in that niche area of people that are really active and enjoying their life outdoors and really like to push themselves, and who are uber motivated to continue to do that for the long term. So those are the people that I really get a lot of juice with working with and have the most fun, just helping them recover, stay. I really don't like to shut people down in terms of, hey, you can't do this anymore. I don't think I've ever told anybody, hey, you can't ever do this thing ever again. My vision is, how do we keep you doing this, and not just in the short term, but, like you're talking about, this long-term wellness. I think it's incredibly important that people have a long-term vision, that they're not just exercising and working out and being active while they're, in their 20s, 30s, 40s, but that they're continuing this, and their long-term vision is, when I'm 80 years old, I want to be able to get up into the mountains, and trek around and move. I want to be able to get down on the ground with my grandkids. I want to be able to, these long-term things that I think we don't really put into perspective a lot of times. That's where I really like to come in and be like, what's your vision for the next 30 years with your fitness and health journey? And how do we keep you healthy and moving in that direction? So that's really where I would like to come in and help work with people that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, man. And, obviously I know your background and I listen to you. I trust you, but why should any listener right now trust what you have to say? What's your background?
Yeah. So growing up, so I'm an athlete myself. I played baseball all through high school, played basketball as well, but then played 3 years of college baseball. So I unfortunately sustained a lot of injuries myself, which led me into the PT world. So I had some great physical therapists when I was coming back from those injuries, and that really sparked my interest in the human body and how we can go through this recovery process. So that really has brought out a passion in myself and working with these injuries that people deal with that are not necessarily coming off a surgery, but it's even that the chronic things that pop up all the time that I think a lot of people just live with on a daily basis. Those things I have a lot of passion with because they tend to be things that limit people a lot. So my background in having to deal with some of those chronic injuries as an athlete has really brought an extra little passion into what I do that way. So I ended up going to the University of Colorado, graduated there in 2017 with my doctorate of physical therapy. And I've been in the outpatient world, if you will, the direct access world of orthopedics. So I'm in my 5th year of practice now, and have got some extra certifications, dry needling, spinal manipulation. I actually got a vestibular therapy certification, which is kind of interesting.
What is that?
Yeah, that one's a lot of times, not a lot of times, sometimes people will be dealing with like inner ear dysfunction and can experience some like dizziness. It's crazy. It's absolutely just detrimental. I mean, like you can't function when you're so dizzy. And a lot of times there's some inner ear dysfunction happening that way. So I have an extra certification in that to help people recover from that pretty quickly. There's some simple treatments that you can do that take care of that really quick. So that's the little side thing that I got a few years back, but not as heavily into. But yeah, that's another thing that I've got. But I think overall, my passion and just the vision that I bring from a long-term longevity perspective, we really don't do, just your normal bandy, bouncy ball stuff here. It's all about function and all right, you need to be able to do a clean and jerk. Cool. Like, let's grab a barbell. You're like, oh, so this physical therapist is having me grab a barbell and not having me do a bouncy ball exercise. Like what's that? So that's the level of, I really try and bring in, hey, what is the mission that you're trying to accomplish? And what do we need to do to get that?
Yeah, man, you're like the cool PT grabbing barbells.
That's it, man. I'm just trying to be a cool PT. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah. And it's not just about injury too. Like obviously it's the performance project. So you help athletes perform or like, even if you're not like a quote unquote athlete, it's about performance too. It's not just about injury for you, right?
Yeah, 100%. I like to bring in, there's this little area, if you think about the traditional physical therapy world of like, okay, we're going to get you back to your daily function, right? That you can move and you can get up off the toilet and you can get out of bed and great. Okay. And then there's the area of like, I need to perform in my sport, or I need to perform in my, my fitness class, or I need to perform in my, my hunt. Right. And so there's this gray area of where when you're recovering from an injury of getting back to this high level of performance, there's this spot where I like to live of like, cool, we got to take you from here to just regular activities all the way up to this high level performance. We need to fill this gap in. And so that's where I really like to work with people in that performance side. And not just like you said, not just after injury, but, proactively, and jumping out in front of things before things really pop up. And so I do a lot of injury prevention work with people and people who are just interested in, hey, I got this, I've made all this progress. I don't want to lose it. And so we really work heavily with injury prevention on that side of things too.
Yeah. And then I'm going to back up like a minute or two to the point they said that you got your doctorate And you guys know what that means, that Tyler is a doctor. I'm going to put his phone number down here on the screen. If there's anything that you're feeling that might not be right, you call Tyler any time of the day, midnight, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Nice.
He's married, guys. So like you women that
don't do it.
I'm going to call, I have this fungus that's growing in between my toes, and
not that kind of
is
doctor.
it cancer? Is it cancer, Tyler?
I'm going to say
he's a doctor.
It's the wrong doctor. Do not. You call. I'm not gonna. I actually won't answer because I'm gonna be in bed. I'm gonna be sleeping. And also, I don't deal with fungus. Yeah. No way. That's somebody else's problem.
That's just an ongoing joke I got with Tyler. He's a doctor, so he should be able to cure everything. So
yeah. Well, it's like in The Hangover, right? When Doug is, or not Doug. Who's the dentist? What's that guy's name? He's
man.
What's his name? Stu. His name's Stu.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, I'm a doctor, and he's like, yeah. Easy, he's a dentist. That's who I feel like. I'm Dr. Pollock. He's a physical therapist. Not to take anything away from my doctor, because I worked really hard for it.
Oh, for sure, man. For sure.
But also,
either way, I'm still putting down your phone number on the screen and how people call you. So hey, Tyler, you still there? Did we lose you?
There we go.
There we go. I got you back.
You're kind of.
I think my internet is unstable. It says my internet's unstable. I might just be unstable over here. You hear me okay?
I think you're unstable. I got you now.
Yeah. All right, man. This is all good and great, but like obviously I'm a big hunter. This podcast is about hunting. So let's talk about hunting, man. Like obviously you're a hunter. How did you get into hunting?
Yeah, I grew up we go on an elk hunt every year. And I started at, how old was I? I was going up with him when I was starting at age 12, I think. Got my hunter's license, or not my hunter's license, my hunter safety license. And started going up with him then, and really continued that all the way through high school. And then as I got more into baseball, more into sports and everything, I stopped going. Just my schedule was pretty crazy, and honestly I got a little burnt out of just from I don't think I had the right, at that time I didn't have the right mentality that I needed for it. It's funny what a little growing up will do, and like going through, I don't know, hunting's hard work, man. Like, I mean, I guess you can make it easy, but the kind of stuff that that you and I did, which we're going to talk about, like, it's some hard work. And I think my relationship with that hard work has improved significantly over the last decade plus. And so we just got back, I just got back into it this last year, going up with you and my dad, and just how fun it was, and like the escape to the mountains, and the newfound appreciation I had for being in the wilderness, having to, this primal instinct to live on your own, so to speak, and, really provide for yourself, and, brave the weather and the cold, and, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, there's something very primal about that that's exciting. And but yeah, I grew up doing it, got away from it, and I'm happy to say that this, thanks to you, I'm going to blame you here. I'm going to give you some credit here, that I'm excited to be back into it. So
right on, man. Well, and our two different growing up hunting's completely different. You grew up elk hunting, which is like, that's pretty hard. As a kid, hiking and like doing that type of hunting. I don't know if I would have enjoyed. Nah, I would have. I love that stuff. I probably would have loved it too, but it would have been hard growing up as a kid doing it. But like my type of growing up hunting was tree stand hunting for whitetail. So like if we walked a mile to our tree stand, that is a long way to whitetail hunt to walk, So, and we just sat there and we are just cold. Right. That was like the hard part, just being cold, waiting for deer to come near us. So like completely different growing ups. Our upbringings around hunting, but you are back into it now. Let's talk about our hunt last year, man. For you guys listening, I do some guided hunts, and I took Tyler's dad out on an elk hunt, and Tyler came along with And dude, we had a blast, man.
Yeah, we
I had
did.
so much fun on that hunt.
Oh man, it was a great hunt. Gosh, I was like a little kid again, only now I was having, the time of my life. You know, it was great. And like I said, I think part of it too is I, not just my relationship with putting in hard work, but like the challenge, the mental grind of it actually is something that I kind of crave now. Which I attribute to CrossFit, honestly, and just kind of, and being an athlete, of just kind of pushing yourself that way, but wanting to do this, like this hiking, getting up into the high altitudes and being in better physical condition now, being able to handle my own pack and doing that sort of stuff. That's makes you feel a little more confident, a little more comfortable being up there. And it was fun, man. And the other piece, obviously, is that we were just in elk, man. We were in it. Like we turned left, there's an elk. We turn right, there's another one. It's just, and so actually being in it was awesome. It was just awesome.
Yeah. And like, I really enjoyed hunting with you because you're the type of guy that like is always upbeat, positive, joking around. So even when things weren't like going quite right, man, you always had a smile on your face. We're always joking around,
Bro.
having fun.
It's just like, well, why would you do anything else? It's like
Yeah.
you're in the mountains, I mean, I think it's all perspective. And we talked about this too before, just like having that right mindset of, this is my view. I'm here to have a good time. And regardless of what happens, like I am so thankful and grateful for just being here,
Yeah. And it started out like you had gotten sick. So I can't remember what you had. What did you have? It was
and conjunctivitis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I had to wear glasses the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I mean, I got some upper respiratory stuff too. It wasn't COVID, but it was like, snot, nose, and all that stuff. And so I had to, started out with me because I was going to drive up with my dad, and it turned, I ended up driving up by myself a couple days later. I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to make it. So yeah, I started out sick on the way up there. It's great. Oh man.
Yeah. So you were sick. Weren't even for sure if you were going to be able to come up or not. Be like, I'm doing it. I'm coming. And so I met you down at the trailhead, and I was like trying to take it a little bit easy because I knew that you had some lung issues because you still had some junk in your lungs. Right. And so I was like, trying not to push you as though we're taking a little breaks. And you're like, bro, you don't need to stop. Let's just keep going. I'm like, oh, all right. It's like that. Let's go then.
Let's get there, man. I was ready, man. I was ready to get there. I was excited, ready to get, I mean, shoot, man. I was like, I don't think I slept the first night. I was so excited. I was just so pumped to be up there. Yeah.
And it was awesome to see like, father, son, hunting experience, because, and that's one thing that hunters, especially being a father myself, like you just really enjoy. And your dad, man, I remember it was the day before you had got there, and we were in elk most of the day. And it was getting towards the evening, and there was a bull, big 6x6. He was like 500 yards away down in this little bowl. Nothing too hard. Like we could have got down there, slipped down there within 100 pretty easy, had a pretty good chance of like killing this bull. And I was like, Jay, come on, let's go get him. He's like, man, I'm kind of tired. And he's like, I just kind of want to wait for Tyler to get here, because he didn't want to kill a bull without you there, man. Like he just wanted to have that experience with you. And but yeah, man, you got up there and we had such a good time. And I think what it did help is we were in elk quite a bit, and which makes things nice. There's a few nights that we're like in our tents, and as we're getting bugles all around us, and
oh man,
not only bugles, but I'm hearing farts coming from each tent and snoring.
Well, that's hunting camp, man. That's it. That's just sounds of the wilderness right there.
Yeah. So anyway, like you were revived, you're back, you want to go hunting again. But let's talk about, like, just to give some value to some hunters out there that might be getting into this, is you hadn't hunt for what, 15 years or so? You hadn't gone out?
No, it had been a long time.
And so you needed to like kind of gear up again to be able to do, because we backpacked to be able to do that type of hunting. And I remember having conversations with his like, man, don't worry about buying all the expensive gear. Like, here's a couple things you need. You need good boots. You probably need a good pack. And then like, let's budget from there, man. Let's talk about that experience.
Honestly, man, yeah, I mean, it was really helpful to have obviously all your information that you're putting out there, some of your videos. So if you guys haven't checked that out already, Kurt's done some cool videos on that. I recommend that. But watching those, really just picking out your things that you're going to invest in. And so I have ended up investing in my feet in the form of really good boots that I knew were going to last for a long time. I also do some other hiking. I do some 14ers every summer with my wife. And so, I needed some new boots anyway. And so I wanted to really invest there. So that's where I put the majority of my budget for just getting started out. And then from there, man, yeah, it was like, I got a pair of pants and, I think I got one shirt or one long sleeve, one short sleeve, and then like mid layer. And then I was gifted some rain gear, and that was it, man. That was like what I got. And then for the pack, you were kind enough to loan me your big backpacking pack, which was good and worked out great, fit me nicely. And then, as long as we had some gear that we all kind of shared, in terms of just being able to cook things up and that sort of stuff. Like, I didn't really end up buying a whole lot of stuff, which was great. I had my old bow that was a hand-me-down from my dad. And I had, it's actually really funny. When I went in to get it tuned, I whipped this bad boy out, man. And I was like, yeah, I just need to make sure that everything is good with this guy. And this guy's, the expert takes it out and he's like, holy smokes, I haven't seen one of these guys in about 15 years. I said, yeah, you're about right. It's old Matthew's bow, and still shoots great. Obviously wasn't going up and hunting this year. But even just bringing that out, like, it felt really good to shoot again. And like, you don't need all the high tech gear and stuff. I mean, those are nice to have things and make things a little easier on you. But at the end of the day, man, like, there's a lot of ways to get an animal down. And so you don't, as long as you're in the right range and you got, the basic necessities, you can make it work. So I didn't buy too much. Just my boots, man. That was my big investment, which I'm incredibly happy about.
And that's one thing I like to talk about with like new hunters is, man, you could spend thousands and thousands of dollars on gear, on the best gear, because everyone's advertising gear, right? The camo, the layering system, the packs, the boots, the new bows, it's very expensive. If you're a new hunter out there, here's some main things that you absolutely probably should invest in, like you did, your feet, because if your feet hurt, if your feet get wet,
you're done.
You're done. If they get cold, you're done. Staying warm, staying dry. So like a couple good pieces of clothing, maybe a sleeping bag so you're not cold at night. But the main thing is trying to be comfortable just so you can be out there longer. And if your bow's 15 years old, so be it. It can still kill an animal. Obviously, like if you upgrade to better gear, your chances go up a little bit, right? Like, so if you have better arrows that have better penetration, your chances of killing something are going to go up a little bit. And all that, it does help out, but like, no need to break the bank. Just get out there and have some fun, get outdoors and hunt. But you want to be comfortable doing it, right? So otherwise that hunt's 100%. Over. You're heading back to the truck because you're miserable.
Dude, yeah, if you're it's pretty miserable too. It can change your experience for sure. If you're cold, wet, or like starving, like either one of those. Yeah, that's the other thing, man. I like food, man, that was crucial. Like, everything I brought was dry goods that I could have, easy to eat, and just stuff I could have munch on all day. And but
I gave you a bunch of shit about
you tell a story.
All right. So I meet Tyler at the trailhead, and I'm like, give me your pack. So I immediately stripped everything out of his pack, and I probably cut your pack in half of like, don't need this, don't need that, don't need this.
Oh yeah.
Throw this back in your truck. Yeah. So I cut your weight down in half, and then I see this jar of freaking peanut butter, this big jar of peanut butter. I'm like, really, dude? You don't bring
It wasn't
entire...
a big jar. It was the small size.
All right. But it was a jar of peanut butter. And I'm like, really, dude? You don't bring it? And I gave you so much crap about it. And I'm like, all right, because I'm carrying your food up. And I'm like, all right, I'll carry your peanut butter up. That's no big deal. I gave you a lot of crap about it, but I tell you what, man, that peanut butter was clutch.
Oh my gosh.
It was
so good. Oh man.
I might start bringing a jar of peanut butter with me on my
hell yeah, you are. Dude, so many good fats, oils, protein, and calories.
Yeah.
Calories, man. That's all. It was all calories. And I just dipped everything into it. It was so good. I had crackers going to the peanut butter. Yep. Had freaking, whatever. I had peanuts up there in my trail mix, dipped them in the peanut butter. You get some peanut butter,
Oh yeah, man. But yeah, I gave you a lot of crap about that, but it ended up being like super clutch.
Yeah. Highly recommended.
Yeah. I mean, if you can handle the weight of that jar of peanut butter.
Yeah. Okay. It was that much.
Hey man, every ounce counts when you're backpacking. You
guys
know that backpacking. So
we were freaking, we were pounding the peanut butter and we didn't even finish that jar.
No,
that's how filling it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was good.
So as a new hunter, and I'm going to call you kind of a new hunter because you haven't hunted in like 15 years before that.
Yeah, sure.
Is it pretty overwhelming of like, God, what do I need? What do I need to do? Like, what's your experience there?
I think for this experience, getting back into it, it was really nice to go with someone, really a couple people that had a lot of experience and the area really well. And so by knowing the area really well, I was able to then also learn the area. So I think that's clutch, is just the more comfortable you can be with knowing where you are, quells your anxiety in terms of like, I'm not going to get lost. And even if I do, I know how to reorient myself, that sort of thing. Cause I think that's one thing that, especially if you're backpacking in and you are going to a new area that maybe can be a little nerve wracking maybe. So for me, it was like that part of it was nice to have just some direction there and like, okay, here's where this point is. And here's this point, here's this landmark, and so it's like, okay, cool. I can feel comfortable with like knowing the area that we're going to be in. So that part for me was nice. Other things getting back into it, like, I don't know. I mean, I think the physical aspect wasn't much for me, and that's only because of the type of training that I do and me enjoying the mountains and doing these 14 years. Like the week before I had hiked, both my wife and I had hiked up Mount Evans. We did Elbert, like the week before. And so mentally I was already in that state of like thin air, hard hiking, just, keep trekking, keep moving, that sort of thing, and getting my lungs underneath me, even though I lost all of it when I got sick. But just mentally it was like, cool, I'm prepped and ready to go that way. So physically, I don't think it was a big piece for me. I think for new hunters, that can probably be a sticking point because, if you haven't spent a lot of time up in the mountains, that's certainly going to be, it's different. It's just different when you get up there, different kind of hiking. You're moving a lot and it's thinner. There's just thinner up there, man. At least in Colorado. So, that part was good. Overwhelming wise, like it was kind of exciting looking at all the gear, like we just talked about. Like it's cool to see what else is out there. With your direction, it was less overwhelming. It was like, cool, I need to get these things, and just coordinating all that. It can be, if you do it solo, I could definitely see how that could become overwhelming very easily. Is like, oh my God, there's so much stuff out here. What do I buy? So that's where I recommend, hey, follow your channel, get some advice on like, hey, here's what you actually need just to get started. And then you can slowly build that up over time, as you continue to do it year after year, and like, cool, I want to get this year, that sort of thing. So I definitely could see where that would be overwhelming. And then I didn't have to do any of the recon because we knew where we're going, but I could also see like, having to do some research in your area that you're going. Like if it's a new area for you, you definitely want to try and figure out the lay of the land, maybe do some scouting and take a couple trips up there and all that. So I obviously didn't have to do that, but if you're a new hunter, I don't know. I just think it's so good to go up with somebody who's done it when you're getting into it. Like I just think that's just if nothing else to watch and see how it's done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're lucky enough to have a mentor that'll take you out, that's definitely the way to go. But I can definitely, I was a new hunter at some point too, especially coming from the Midwest and doing elk hunting here in the mountains, and it was really overwhelming. Of there's thousands and thousands and thousands of acres that
Oh,
you
man.
can go hunt, and it's like, how do you narrow it down? One, all the states. Then you narrow it down to just Colorado. Okay, I'm going to go to Colorado. How do I narrow that down to a unit, and then narrow that unit down to there's the spot that I'm going to go? It's pretty overwhelming. And then
Right.
you get to get the gear and like go like
Yeah.
it's that learning curve's a big learning curve on how to do it. So like, yeah, a mentor is great. And I'm kicking around like a mentor program that I'm thinking about doing
That'd be
maybe
great.
next year.
I think, man, that's like as new hunters come in and people get, more interested in this, this hunting world, I think there's just going to be a huge need for that. I can't like, it would be such a different experience if you go out there, freshly green and you don't have the right mental state to like handle all the adversity that you're going to handle in that first trip and doing all the work that you're talking about. And, it's just like, there's going to be things that you forget. So having somebody there to be like, hey, I've done this before. Here's some recommendations I'd make, even if they're not going up on the hunt with you, but
Mm-hmm.
just like, hey, here's some things that you want to look for. Here's the gear that you're going to want to get. Here's um, here's the process of getting everything you need to if they're not from Colorado originally, if they're from out of state or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's crucial.
Yeah. Let's back up a little bit and give some more value to the people that are listening. And the value, I think, man, where you really fit in that you can really help people out here is let's talk about fitness and hunting, how that goes. When I say fitness and hunting, I'm talking more the Western style of hunting in mountains, hiking a lot, that physical type of hunt.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about some preventative stuff that like can maybe bring down injuries. But like, what's your thoughts on like the aspect of fitness when it comes to hunting?
Yeah. I think especially if you're going to be doing backpacking, which I don't know, for elk hunting, I think you've got to be willing to get into it, man. You got to be willing to get in there. And obviously there's other styles, but I guess I'll kind of hone in on just the style of hunting that where you're trekking up and down these these steep mountain terrains. The strength cannot be overstated how important it is in terms of, legs, trunk stability, core stability, all that, with weight on your back. And so the style of, some sort of training regimen should include, my estimation, some sort of rucking, some sort of strength training program where that's got some periodization to it, where over the period of 12 to 16 weeks, you're developing strength and, big lifts like deadlifts, squats, even some, more Olympic style lifting like cleans are incredibly beneficial that way. But even if you're not into like the barbell lifting stuff, going outside and doing some rucks where you're throwing 20, 40 pounds in a pack and going on a hike, right? And, starting with just long walks, and then adding in inclines, and then adding in multi-level terrains. And the cool thing about Colorado, obviously you can kind of do that in your backyard. If you don't have access to that, then, incorporating things like a box. And so you can do some step ups, but trying to simulate what you're going to be doing on a daily basis, while you're out there on the hunt, I think it's going to bleed over into this injury prevention idea, but having adequate strength in your lower extremity, having adequate proprioception where you're able to balance, without falling over, without, injuring yourself that way, it's just paramount. And it also adds to the value of your hunt, because then, like you talked about, you're able to go longer, you're able to go farther, you're able to hunt for longer. And you don't have to worry about, oh, I've gone out half a mile. That's like, if I go any farther, I'm not going to be able to make it back and got to turn around. Right. Or it's like, I got to sit, it's time to rest for 3 hours, at maybe an inopportune time. So fitness cannot be overstated. And that obviously I kind of touched on more like the actual direct component of wanting to do more specific exercises. But incorporating things like aerobic fitness are important too. You know, if you're going to be out all day, or if you're going to be out for multiple hours, you know, having the aerobic capacity to be moving for that period of time in some fashion is going to add to the value of your hunt. Where, you know, if you're only able to walk 10, 15 minutes before you got to stop, you know, that's going to impact your experience that way, right? Because, you know, if you're on a chase, you know, if you've got to make a quick move and you can't make that quick move, and maybe you miss your opportunity there. Or, you know where they're at, but now they've moved and you know where you got to go, but it's, you know, it's a couple miles from camp now. Okay, well, again, that might impact your hunt because now you're not able to go on that chase and go on that hunt a little bit farther. So the more fit you are, I think your radius just expands from where you're camped out at. And so that's where your fitness component comes in.
Yeah. And obviously, you know that I agree with that 100%. And we're not saying that you can't be successful if you're not in good shape with that type of hunt.
Not at all, but it will impact your experience.
Yes.
And maybe decrease your chances. So if we're talking about maximizing your performance again, which is where I live, you know, how do we maximize your experience? Well, we get you as fit as possible. Why are we doing that? Well, expand your range, expand your aerobic capacity. Once you get something down, now you can actually pack it out, you know, and maybe it's one less trip than you have to make than before. You know, I mean, it's just those are the things where we're talking about enhancing performance. Fitness plays such a key role in that. And even if it's, I mean, it doesn't have to be a ton, but it's way better than you just rolling off your couch and heading out and expecting yourself to be able to, you know, trek up these treacherous mountains here in Colorado. So,
yeah. And obviously I train a lot, and my biggest method of training is CrossFit. And I know you do a lot of CrossFit also. And as much as I train, I still feel that I really can't train for what I'm doing in the mountains, just because like a CrossFit workout or a workout, maybe a normal workout's an hour long, where CrossFit high intensity stuff might be 10, 20, maybe 30 minutes of high intensity stuff. What it really, and then you can't really train 8 hours of physical activity. And that's what happens a lot when you're in the mountains. And I'm notorious for changing my mind. So I'm like, okay, well, I want to go up over here on this ridge here. I get there, I don't like it. Let's go over here. You know, I'm moving almost all the time, all day. So how do you train for 8 hours a day of fitness? You really can't, man, unless you're doing 8 hours a day of fitness back here at home, and that's not feasible. To my point is, what I'm really training is mental toughness. That's what I'm really training, is when I'm in a really hard workout and it really sucks and it really hurts, is not quitting on the workout and finishing it, maybe finishing it strong. So when you're up there and you're hurting or you're wet or you're cold or you're tired, it's that mental toughness that helps you to keep pushing. That's where I think the key comes in for phys. I mean, obviously being physical fit will help a lot, but like more that mental toughness is what I train. And you do a lot of CrossFit too, right, Tyler?
Oh yeah. Yeah. CrossFit's big. And to your point with that mental toughness side, like there's not a workout where I'm like, God, I just want this to be over. You know, on the CrossFit side of things, you're just, you know, it's intentionally, you know, that's part of that mental toughness, right? And it's a skill just like anything else that can be trained and learned and developed and really crafted over time. And the only way to get better at it is to keep doing it. It's like sharpening a sword, and you're just continue to sharpen the sword, you know, and you've got to keep, you know, challenging yourself because, yeah, I mean, over time, if you're not, you become soft, you know, mentally it has to be on this consistent basis where you're challenging yourself mentally, because if you don't, then there's this lack of confidence in yourself of like, man, so then you start even looking at stuff like, man, I can't even imagine walking over that other ridge right now. Like there's no confidence there because the fear there is that, okay, if I start, like what happens if I can't, if I'm really tired halfway through, and you don't have the mental, you know, in yourself, you don't have the mental capacity to be like, I'm going to push through that tiredness and I'm going to get over there. Whereas like what you're talking about, if you're curating that mental toughness over time, and that sword is nice and sharp, when you get tired halfway over there, you're like, cool, now the work's begun. And then you finish that out and you get over there, and now you're in a better position, and again, increase your odds, and also increase your experience, because like there's something invigorating and satisfying and vindicating about doing hard things and accomplishing them.
Yeah. And there's that explorer side that wants to see what is over that next ridge. That's what pushes me a lot. What's over there? I got to see it, right?
Yeah.
And guys are like, obviously, I'm an advocate for CrossFit. Tyler likes CrossFit too, but we're not sitting here saying you have to do CrossFit to be in shape or like. But one thing I think you need to do is push your mental toughness, and whatever that is. If that's physical activity, if it's something else that you can find to push your mental toughness, and just strengthen that muscle, which is mental toughness, you'll be way more successful and have a better hunting experience.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get into injury prevention, man, because I know a lot of, and let's talk bow hunters. That's one of the things that I really enjoy doing. I do rifle hunting, but like bow hunters seem to have to, to be a Western bow hunter, you have to be a little bit more, you're beating up your body a little bit more. Bow hunting, I've seen a lot of shoulder injuries over time with bow hunting, knees, shoulders. What are some things that you would recommend for like that shoulder injury and like help preventative stuff for knees as we get older?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in that mountain terrain, especially if you're having to make quick moves and uneven terrain, knees can get beat up pretty good. So step one is be on a fitness plan. So that's step one to an injury prevention, is developing strength constantly and maintaining that strength. Next piece. So if that's taken care of and we're still, looking at, okay, how do we prevent injury? Biomechanics and body mechanics become kind of that level that we want to look at. So, do you have strength, and do you have strength in the appropriate ranges that you need it? What's your range of motion like? What's your joint mobility like? What's your, how are you landing when you're taking these, kind of awkward steps through and over the timber, and what's your, we're looking up the chain. We want to see, hey, how does that look? And so from an injury prevention standpoint, looking at your hip stability and strength, your core stability and strength. Honestly, balance is something that's overlooked a lot with this injury prevention side of things. When you're talking about being able to control how your body is positioned in space, it's called proprioception. That is something that is overlooked a lot, because when you're going over these, big logs and timber and everything, a lot of times you're on one foot, or you're on one, you're standing on one leg, and you've got a pack on, you've got your bow. And so you've got to have incredible stability in being able to do that. And so training and or doing some work in that proprioceptive space, working on your balance, working with unstable terrain, and working in ranges that you're weak in, are incredibly important. And the other thing I would look at is potentially how do you load your joint when you're doing like a jump, like when you're landing, if you've got to jump off of something, how good are you able to brace that, and how good do you absorb those forces that are coming through all of the joints, from the hips below. So that's a big piece, because especially coming downhill, that's when a lot of people will experience some of that knee pain, some of those knee issues. If you're not able to control what's happening at the knee from lack of hip strength or lack of hip stability, that plays a huge role at what's going on at the knee. And same thing at the foot. If your feet are not strong, if your feet are not stable, if you've got ankle instability and issues there, that will also show up at the knees too. So I like to look above and below for when I'm talking specifically about knee injury prevention. I like to look above and below what's happening at the hips, what's happening at the ankles. In terms of the shoulder, with bow hunters, absolutely, you become really dominant on one side, right? Because you're obviously, you're just shooting one side. So there's a lot of maybe some overcompensating happening on one side. So again, a good fitness program that's kind of assumed here. Next level is, I like to get into some band work. And what I mean by that is tighten muscular stability training. So your rotator cuff muscles play a huge role and so rotator cuff injuries, particularly as we get older. And it may be a traumatic injury, it may not tying of these being on a banded rotator cuff exercise plan, I think should be doing from an injury prevention side of things for your bow hunts. So there's a lot of great resources out there. I mean, is littered with a lot of these things. Obviously, it can be tough to sift through those. That's where I come in terms of resources and things like that to kind of look specifically at that. But I think rotator cuff stability and strengthening that way. I would also look at your range of motion. If you've got limitations with your shoulder mobility, sometimes that can impact how you're able to pull the bow back. If you've got joint restrictions that way, then I would look at opening that up with some mobility work and some strength, some stretching that way. And muscular endurance, being able to pull that bow back and hold it and maintain that position. But being on some sort of resistance banded training, injury prevention side of things with the shoulder, I think is crucial, and you've got to do it. And it can get boring, it can get tedious. But in the long term, again, if we're taking a big 50,000 foot view of the long term of your hunting career, do you want to be doing this in 5 years and then your shoulders toast, or do you want to be doing this 20 years from now? And so that's the kind of that why you've been the work. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And
Okay.
Again, our internet was a little bit spotty there. So I think what we're going to do, guys, is we will link up in the description of this. This will be on YouTube and Spotify, but we will link up in the description some links for you, maybe some movements, some top 5 movements that Tyler would recommend for like knee help, shoulder injury prevention. That way you guys have some resources there. But I don't expect Tyler right now to break out the bands and the balls and like do it and show everybody exactly what we're talking about, man. But no, that's exactly right. And I've just seen a lot of shoulder injuries in bow hunters, and some of that is not correctly pulling back the bow. Some of that is not taking care of the body. And obviously there's a lot of knee injuries and guys, or knee, ankle, hip stuff in guys that do a lot of backpacking and that type of thing.
That brings up a good point. I mean, having the right fit, having your backpack be correctly fitted to you is another piece. And then, biomechanics, right? How are you pulling the bow back? And that's something that definitely can play a role in, which muscles are you using? So that's something that you'd want to take a look at in terms of, how you're actually completing the task, because that can place excess strain on some of those smaller muscles that need some help, maybe from some of the bigger muscles like your lat and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, man, very good. And again, guys, we'll put some links down here in the description so you guys can kind of see what Tyler's talking about, and there'll be some movements to work on, something that you can do at home, maybe with just a band or so. So we can prevent and we can hunt till we're 80 years old, man. That's the goal, right? That's my
dream, man.
The dream.
Yeah.
So speaking of the future, like Tyler, what does the future look like for you and hunting and all that stuff now?
I got the bug, man. I got the bug. I'm all in. So my plan, is obviously to make this a yearly thing. So I love archery. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna stick with that. And my goal with that is to really start to expand my knowledge base so that I can actually go out and do this stuff on my own. And that, includes being able to do kind of the prep work that, you were fortunate to give both my dad and I on that trip last year. I'd like to be able to explore that and really start to sort of, strengthen a skill of mine that maybe is hasn't been developed yet. So talking about mental challenges and the importance of having a mentor that can help you with that process. My plan is to be able to go out, do some of this research, find an area and go and do a hunt there, and archery's archery's I love, and it's fun, and I enjoy shooting. And so um, that's going to be what I move forward with in the future for now. So I'll be curious. I don't know if I want to get into rifle right away. I haven't had a ton of interest at this point. I think partially because I haven't mastered, if you will, the archery game yet, and I'd like to really get into that before I expand my into the
Well,
next thing. But
well, I hate to break it to you, man, but I don't think you will ever. No one ever
no, it's
masters
gonna
the archery game,
that's
which
fair.
is
That's fair.
which is kind of the cool thing about it. It's a very difficult
True.
thing, and I want to point out something that you just said here, and you just did, is your expectations of your goals that you want to accomplish. You notice that Tyler did not say anything about killing an animal, killing an elk or whatever he's after. That is really key. Like that's realistic expectations, because it is less than 10% of elk hunters that bow hunt are successful, right? So like his expectation of success for him is building his knowledge to a point where he can go find an area and go hunt on his own. That is awesome. And that's what new hunters should have that expectation of, not killing a bull, because 90% of you are going to be disappointed if that is the expectation you have. And that's
100%.
just the truth, man. That's the numbers. So I appreciate you saying that for sure,
Yeah,
man.
dude.
Yeah.
Well, that's partially you, man. I mean, our conversations and everything, obviously, that's something we've talked about a lot. And again, for me, just like grew up being, going through this growing up phase, if you will, of my own perspective on things, and has changed so much. And just being in the mountains is enough for me. That's the escape. That's the rooted connection to kind of Mother Earth, if you will. And it's just being out there is enough. And the hunt is part of the thrill of it all, but it's just one part. It's not the primary objective. And so in that perspective, I think that gives a lot of room to just enjoy being out there, as opposed to looking at things black and white, and seeing like it was a success or it was not a success based on whether or not I get something or not. And I just think if I have a 10% chance of success in that term, why wouldn't I just shift my perspective and say, this is going to be a success if I can go out there and I can know my terrain, I can navigate safely through this area. I can, make my own meals. I can get camp set up. I can get into some areas where, man, maybe it's exciting, maybe it's not, but I'm safe, and I'm physically fit, and I'm going through this mental challenge of, I don't know necessarily what's over that hill, so I'm gonna go test myself and see what is, and just being present in those moments, then my chance of success is 100%.
Yeah, that's
So
really good. I like that a lot, Tyler. And I agree with you. Like, obviously I have here's what I enjoy the most about hunting is being alone in nature, whether it be on a mountain, whether it be in a tree stand on a creek line with whitetail, or on a blind after turkey. I love being alone in nature, just absorbing nature, but with a goal in mind. I still have a goal. So I'm not like type of
yeah,
guy that wants to go hike just to hike for fun. I'm like, well, what am I after? Because I like having that goal in mind, but being in nature with a goal in mind, that is absolutely money for me right there. So guys, think about that
100%.
as you're hunting, or if you're getting discouraged because you haven't been successful. That is a really good point that Tyler brought up. So
Yeah, no,
yeah.
100%, man.
Well, shoot, man. I really enjoyed the podcast, or I enjoyed just talking to you like normal, man. We always
Yeah, dude.
jam about something. We have a lot of a good time. So thanks for
Jam
your
sesh.
time. Yeah, dude. Thanks for your
Heck
time,
yeah.
my man. And I
Yeah.
appreciate it. We'll have to bring you back on again, and we'll probably get in more depth on like some of that injury prevention stuff for hunters, and kind of see how your season goes this year. Maybe we can update it after that.
Man, that'd be something. That would be something.
I know you got a challenge though this year, man. Like there's a little something on the way. I don't know if you want to spill those
Yeah,
beans or not, but
the world knows already. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to break away from home. We got a little one on the way, so it's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting.
Tyler,
She's due like August 24th. So it's gonna be like 2 weeks after that. So it might be tough, man. I don't know if I hope, I'm not holding out hope with this one.
Right.
Maybe if the baby comes a little early, but
Right. This might be one of those years where you get really good at shooting the bow in the backyard.
yeah,
Right. And building the gear and like maybe fitness wise. And then next year might be your year, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking like this is just going to be one giant, waiting game for the next 12 months or so, or 18 months until I can actually go. But I look forward to that challenge, and maybe, it's going to be, like you said, I've got the bug, so I'm going to be shooting. I'm going to be doing some challenges that way. And speaking of that, I'm going to be doing this Top Predator deal. So if you guys are thinking about it, do it. It's going to be fun. I'm excited.
It is going to be fun. And I think me and you, we're talking about challenging each other in like a little workout shoot off, right?
Oh yeah. It's going to happen.
Oh yeah. Good.
It's going to happen. I'm going to do it.
Stay tuned to our Instagrams. Me and Tyler are going to challenge each other in a workout shoot off and see who wins.
Oh man, it's awesome. I want to make this make a hype video just for this.
Dude, we should do like a MMA fight. Like we'll weigh in with the shirts off.
Oh man. Oh yes. That sounds great. I'm in. I'm all in on that, dude.
That's good stuff.
Let's do it. Whew. Man, we can do the, we can have this stare down.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be like Rambo and bring some exploding tip arrows.
Oh man. What's his famous? I forget his famous line in that movie. He's like, he's got the Stallone face. I don't know.
Well, in the boxing one, it was Adrian, right? Like Adrian.
I
don't know about Rambo. I don't know if there was a certain line. I'm sure there was.
Yeah, I don't know. He probably did. I haven't watched those movies in a while.
He did Archer's right in that movie, man. He was a badass archer, right?
Man, watching Rambo. I might watch those this weekend now.
Dude,
get me hyped up.
Jacked up. Hell yeah, man.
Got to find something to do all the way, from hunting season until next year.
Got Rambo on repeat for 18 months.
Exactly. Oh man.
All right, man. Let's get off this thing, and I'm sure people are bored of listening to our dumb crap. So.
Never.
Again, thanks so much. I appreciate your time, and let's link up if you guys are in. Would you have online stuff, Tyler, where maybe they can find you and do some stuff online with you?
They can find me on Instagram. I'm going to be building out a little bit more of some wellness stuff for folks, some injury prevention things here in the future. For now, if they want to just pop on my Instagram, it's Performance Project PT is my handle. I've got some videos. I try and do some videos of just some injury prevention things, and also some things that you can do on your own at home. And those cover head to toe stuff, so total body things. But look forward to doing some more structured stuff in the future for injury prevention. And I do have an ebook, a couple of ebooks, one for shoulders and one for squat mobility. So both of those are on my website. So you can find those at performanceprojectpt.com and download those for free. So those are the resources I have at the moment. Yeah.
Nice, man. I didn't realize you had an ebook.
Oh yeah.
How much I know. All right. I'm going on right now and get the shoulder stuff for sure.
That's right. Do it.
All right, my man.
All right, man.
Thanks again. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Cheers.
This is the Western Obsessions TV podcast, where hunting's not a hobby, it's an obsession.